Vaishak full moon. And she was born on Vaishak full moon. And again, Vedavyasa was also born on the same Vaishak full moon, on her birthday. And when she was 20 years of age,
16 years.
it's 20 years, then Vedavyasa was born. So, then Vedavyasa explains all this. Then she says that, I know your father, he was not having any of the lower attractions. When he has looked at me also, I feel that his looks are not with physical attractions and all these things. Only in his looks, in his view, the only thing what I could see is the welfare of all the beings to cooperate with the divine plan of the Lord, coming Lord. That is the only thing he has, and no other considerations he has. I knew I could feel this on the very first day, first look, when I have seen him. When he looked at me, it's not like how normally a man looks at a woman. It's not like that. He
And also the progeny from Satyavati will be the guiding lines for whole Bharat. And so he want to protect
yes,
also.
he want to protect that.
So first he invited Vedavyasa from her so that he will be protector of law.
Yes.
And at this time, did they have a writing already?
Yes,
They had?
yes, it was Sanskrit language.
It was?
Yes,
Yes.
far before that.
Far before that we have.
Because that time is only just 5,400 years before. That was very recent. 5,400 years is very recent.
Sanskrit.
Yes, Sanskrit language.
It is Devanagari.
Yes,
It is called.
it was there for a very old ages, and it was spoken, it
And
was written.
Written also?
Yeah. But they were writing on the palmyra leaves, not the paper like this.
Yeah, yeah. But they were writing.
They were already writing this because there were Ramayana was composed long before this, you know.
Long before.
Yeah, very long before, on the palmyra leaves. So written script was already existing. Not only spoken, but written language also were existing. It was a very huge area when you have this written and spoken form of Sanskrit. Because what was mentioned in Ramayana, a geographical description in Ramayana and in Bharata also, the extent of this kingdom was very large, because it was in the Lanka, which was described in Ramayana of Ravana. That is not this Sri Lanka, it is wrongly understood now. It is not this Sri Lanka. It was Lanka was far down south,
On the equator.
near on the equator.
It doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't exist. Bonjour.
Lanka means equator in Sanskrit language.
This one.
Now Lanka is translated wrongly as an island, but it is not island. Lanka means equator.
Dvipam means island.
Dvipa means island. Lanka is equator. So it was on the equator, far south down. So the distance what was given, described in Ramayana, from the end of the present India to the Lanka, is not this Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is very, very near now, but the distance is very large, what was given. So like this you have very precise geographical descriptions also, which were given in Ramayana and in Mahabharata. So in this book, they have discussed. So that is what she says, that you were born when I was 20 years of age, on the same day of my birth. And now the present events, what are there surrounding the Bharat, they are not very, appear to be not very congenial, because there is always an invasions, because the invasions into the land, they are not new, they were also there since very long time. And from time to time, there were also cultural invasions, not only political invasions, but cultural invasions are also there. But every time whenever there is cultural invasion, but these masters, the rishis, they were always working to neutralize this, that this culture and this ancient wisdom is not destroyed, because that is very important. They were protectors of this wisdom. So, and then Satyavati was discussing with Vedavyasa what would be the future plan for all this, because already that time there was some chaos that is that is manifested by the wicked rulers who are in the grip of black forces, and towards the destruction and all this. And so Satyavati was she was very much concerned with the situation, that how all these things, situations will be handled, who will. And she says that that your father was telling, Parasara was telling, that there will be an incarnation coming down through the 8th pregnancy of his mother, who will solve all his problems. And once she says, since you are the 8th child to me, may I take this prophecy of your father, that you are the person who came down for this? Then Vedavyasa says, it is true that I am the 8th child from your from my mother. That was Bhishma. Sorry, he's asking about Bhishma. She was asking, she was asking that Bhishma was the 8th child. Can we take Bhishma as the person who was prophesied by your father? Then he says, no, Bhishma was the 8th child, that is true. But he is not the person. He is the person who was the devotee of the coming Lord, and who is important person in this. But he is not the person who was prophesied by my father. But he is yet to incarnate. We have certain task to fulfill before his incarnation. That is what my father was telling, Parasara was telling us. And there are also some other persons who have incarnated. And then she asks, who are the other persons who have incarnated, who are going to work with this? Then he explains her about Devapi and the Maru. Maru is Maurya. And she explains all these other rishis who came into form, who work under the instruction of Parasara, who are going to work. So he explains his mother, because his mother, she asks him, because he knows that he is a very learned person. He is, even though he is her son, but he is a great master. He knows that. Therefore he asks him, you please explain me what your father has the plan to work out for this present situation of this such a big nation, which is responsible to show for all the other nations, to lead the other nations in the spiritual direction. So he explains how Parasara made the whole plan, and how Parasara made the plan to bring the Vedic wisdom also into a particular form. So all this plan he explains to his mother. This is what we are doing now, under the instruction of my father. That is what he tells her. So she explains her. So Satyavati was very pleased because she was really so concerned and she was worried about the future of this this great country. So now she gets satisfied when he explains her that what is going to happen, what his father prophesied, and all these things he explains her. So then she blesses him and then he goes away. That is the first chapter. So he at the end he says that what my father has prophesied will come true. You are my mother, you bless me that I will fulfill the purpose for what my father has brought me into incarnation through you. So you bless me on this birthday of yours and also the birthday of mine. That is what Vedavyasa says, because it is the birthday of both Vaisakha, full moon. Both of them were born on the same. So he asks his mother, please bless me like this. She is very happy and she says, I am blessing you that you will fulfill the mission of your father for the welfare of all the creation for a long time. That is her blessing to her son, and then they disperse. That is the first chapter.
When was this? When was this?
This was from now, it is about 5,400 years ago.
Back.
Yeah. Before the advent of Krishna. Just before that. This was between Vedavyasa and his mother Satyavati. This is the first chapter of this book.
Just one thing. The father of Pandu and blinding is Vedavyasa
No.
or Uparasana?
Vedavyasa.
Yes,
Vedavyasa.
I forgot to put it down for me.
Parasara is the father of Vedavyasa.
Yes, this I
And
remember.
Vedavyasa with his spiritual power.
Yes, this I remember, but I had
Yeah.
doubt. Vedavyasa.
Yes. And in the second chapter of this book, Master has given a description about how the rulers of that time, the virtuous rulers, and with the help of the rishis, how they have developed Ayurveda for the welfare of all the beings. So this second chapter was devoted for that. So there was a ruler of one of the kingdoms in who belongs to the clan of Moon. There are two clans coming down of the rulers. One is coming from the solar progeny and one is coming from the lunar progeny. So from the lunar progeny, there was a ruler. He was called Dhanvantari. Yes, Dhanvantari is a very familiar name in the Ayurvedic science.
He's a lunar progeny.
They are from the lunar progeny. He was ruling a kingdom, and the capital city of this kingdom is Varanasi. You know Varanasi, eh?
I heard the name.
Benares. The British people call it Benares.
3 names.
It's English people.
Yes, it's Varanasi.
Varanasi, Kasi.
Kasi is just normal people call, but Varanasi is the actual name.
This is actual name. Kasi because of the Lord.
And The British people could not utter this, therefore they said Benares. They changed many names in Indian cities because they could not utter the names. So
Oh, Pahalazi.
for their convenience, they changed the names. So Dhanvantari was the king, and he has patronized very much this Ayurvedic science with the help of some of the rishis, especially one of the rishis is called Agni-Vesha. He was a friend of this Dhanvantari. Together they were working for the Ayurvedic work. And this Agni-Vesha was the author of one of the very authentic texts of Ayurveda which are existing now. That is Charaka Samhita.
Is a deva. A deva.
No? Agni-Vesha is one of the rishis.
One of the rishis.
This Charaka Samhita is existing even now. One of the authentic texts of Ayurvedic science. So he was the composer of this text. So this and also there was another rishi who was also working with this Dhanvantari, and his name is Bharadwaja. You know, in the ancient tradition, even now which we follow, we remember the names of the rishis from where these families, their descents. This is called Gotra. Gotra means the descent from generations. And this Bharadwaja is the rishi to which we belong also. Our Gotra is Bharadwaja. Because it is from generations, it is always remembered from where is our continuation. From one generation to another generation, it is always remembered, written. So this Bharadwaja was one of the famous, very famous rishi about Ayurvedic science. And this Bharadwaja of this time, he was great grandson of another Bharadwaja who was very before, who was originally, who brought the Ayurvedic science with his tapas. He made his tapas and he got this Rudra and Indra in his vision, and an instruction from Indra Rudra. He received this instruction to develop this into a science. That was the first. And this Bharadwaja was born in that same line at this time. And he also was one of the main persons. So the first Bharadwaja who brought this Ayurvedic science, he extended his physical life for the purpose, for this special purpose. For every 100 years he used to extend again by a particular procedure called Rasayana.
Rasayana. Yeah. This is what your grandfather wrote the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was. So like that, he has extended his life for 3 times for this work, to continue this work for the welfare of the people, to bring this science. And because they could identify the soma, a soma plant, and with the juice of soma, a soma rasayana it is called, soma rasayana, because the soma plant is very special. On the new moon day, by the new moon day there are no leaves. All the leaves are dropped away from this. And from the next day, you start, and on the full moon day, full of leaves. But this is specialty of this soma.
And the new moon, there's
No leaves.
Every month it goes.
Yes, every month.
All year long?
Yes, all year long. That is the specialty.
Special, yes.
The botanic name of that plant?
That is difficult because they have given 4 or 5 names, but we are not sure. That's why we always keep this name Soma.
Where do you find it?
This is in the Himalayan area,
Himalayan.
Himalayan plant it is. And they extract the juice from the roots of this plant, and then they take this juice on full moon day, and by the next coming new moon, his nails go away, his teeth fall away, his hair falls away, and his skin. So all these things are gone, only his body will be there, and they keep this body very carefully and drenched in cow's milk fully, and by next full moon he gets all new tissues formed, new nails, new teeth, new hair and new one, and then his span is extended from there. This was the procedure of this Soma Rasayana. That is a very...
This was a total one. There are other...
there are many Rasayanas,
many different.
many different
But this was
Rasayanas.
the total one.
This was the total one.
Yeah, but then he's staying in bed for 1 month, so how is it?
It's not bad. They keep the person
Yeah?
in the leaves of certain plants.
Mhm.
They make the leaves of the plants like a bed and keep the person on this, and continuously putting cow's milk on this body, milk of the cow. So this body is kept on the leaves, and
And
upon
milk.
this the milk of the cow.
For 1 month.
Yes, and then all these tissues are rebuilt, and then his life is extended for another 100 years, like that.
Ah, this is the procedure
Yeah.
to extend. Okay. And after 100 years he has to go through again.
Yes, but that was kept only because if really that is brought to the common people, then it will be misused because of the Kamamanas. So it's only the masters know this, and only absolutely when it is necessary for the work, then they apply this.
And it should be very, very much carefully see that
Yeah.
person.
And this Dhanvantari and Bharadwaja was taken. Bharadwaja was there working with Dhanvantari, and Bharadwaja was taken as the spiritual guru for this kingdom of this Dhanvantari's kingdom. And this Dhanvantari with Bharadwaja and with Nivesha, they worked together
Hallo?
to train many of the people
Ja.
in Ayurvedic science.
Ja, Margaret, ich muss dich leider
And,
stoppen. Wir haben einen
to-
Kurs mit Krishna.
They have trained 2 types of groups. One
Yeah.
group of healers
Bis
War.
später. Ciao.
sent out into the country to go around and see wherever there are sick people to treat them, to identify them and to treat them and cure them. That is one group of people. They are called Charakas. And another group of disciples were trained so that they will go to the people and educate the people about health, how they should be healthy, how they should keep. So 2 types. One is the healers and another the educators
Mhm.
about the way of living. So like this, they have trained 2 groups of people and sent them all over the country continuously to work. That was the network. What they did. Because in those days, it is not like a commercial what we see now for the medicine and all these things.
No need to buy food.
Yeah, there was no need to purchase food in those days. In those days, everybody was working and producing food, and everybody was sharing. That was the system. There was no currency.
No money.
No money. No, not at all. Everything, everybody works for everything. Everybody. So it was sharing only. And cities were very less. In those times, there were small groups like villages, mostly. And they did not want to develop big cities, because if they develop cities, it will be like this now. No cities. They used to live in groups. And from time to time, groups, they will come together to learn something and to exchange. That is the system. And even the kings, the rulers, they were never disturbing the group works and all these things. They were also cooperating, they were promoting this. They were promoting all the spiritual activity and the cultural activity and the learning and all this. The rulers were also a part of the whole work. The rulers were never separating themselves as their rulers.
And their children used to send to these places.
Even
to
the
learn.
children of the kings are also sent to the ashrams, just like normal children. There was no differentiation in those days, like now.
Does the age of Taurus,
7 years.
Hmm?
does the age of Taurus,
Oh,
yes, huh?
yes.
Uh-huh.
So this Dhanvantari has a son called Ketumanta. That is another, further after Dhanvantari, he was the king, Ketumanta. And he was also, he practiced this Ayurvedic thing. He's continued his father's work. And he extended his span also for 400 years, following this type of thing and doing the same work. And so this was he made his Varanasi as the center for learning, or the spiritual center, not only capital of the kingdom, but he made the Varanasi as a spiritual center for the wisdom, for all these ancient sciences. And that is why since then, Varanasi even now is a spiritual center. Because there was the educational center, it was very ancient in Varanasi. There were 3 very important educational centers in old and ancient India. One is Varanasi, it's called Vidyapit. Vidyapit means education center. So many people from all over the country used to go there for this higher education in these sciences. And another is called Takshashila, that is now in Pakistan. Now no more it exists.
Karaksamita is now Pakistan.
Takshashila.
Karaktaksila?
No, it is a book, it is Ayurvedic text, not this one.
What is the place in
The book.
Pakistan?
Takshashila. This was another center of learning,
Education.
very important center, but now it has gone into Pakistan.
In the mountains?
It's not in the mountains, it's the plains only, but a very good place, but now nobody knows this. Like, since it is not continuing.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
And the third place?
The third was called Nalanda.
Nalanda. The first is
Varanasi.
And where is Nalanda?
Nalanda is also not existing now. It is
In which region?
పాటలీపుత్రంలో కదా.
no. Nalanda is it was It is also not existing now. Only Varnas is existing now.